Hi, happy September. Before I start in with the cards for each sign, I wanted to mention something, a little something about the moon cycles that are happening in September because they happen to be some of my favorite energies to work with throughout the year. The new moon that happens on September 2nd is in Virgo, and then 2 weeks later is a full moon in Pisces on the 17th. And that is also a partial lunar eclipse and a new moon, I believe. That's the harvest moon. So it's kind of an interesting, good time. I really like this dynamic. Virgo is on one side of the zodiac sign, the zodiac wheel, and it's directly opposite of Pisces. That's how the new moon, full moons work. They are in opposing signs like that, and I like it. You can consider opposing signs, and when I say that, I just mean if you envision the zodiac wheel, and Virgo's on one side, directly across from that is Pisces. So those two signs operate kind of like if you imagine like a dimmer switch between, opposing signs. They both are kind of made up of the same stuff. It's just that they are extremes of one another. Most of the time, we fall in between there. We're not the extreme end of anything, but it can be really helpful to know what sign is directly opposite your sun sign in the zodiac, because if you ever get feeling really out of whack or like things really aren't working, the general easy astrological advice is to move toward the center a little bit. So, for instance, I am a Pisces sun sign, and if I really kind of get lost in my head and in the dreams and very floaty and very mermaidy and not very grounded, it always helps me to move a little toward the Virgo energy of practicality and putting the work in, the baby steps, the routine, and just taking things a little bit slower and grounded. That helps me. So I don't know. That's just a little astrology tip that may help if you are feeling like things are really out of control in your life. In terms of the new moon and the full moon aspects of this, it's really cool to me, and I generally like this time of year anyway, because we do establish routines. We're coming out of the summertime when our routines are probably very different. Kids are out of school, there's more traffic, different traffic on the road. We're not doing things like we would the rest of the year. And so I like settling into more of a routine. I like the little bit looking forward to the cooler weather, the back to school energy, the things becoming more structured again. That always makes me feel very settled. So I like that, and thought I would just take a minute to talk about this. So with the new moon on the 2nd in Virgo, Virgo is the sign that deals with our daily habits and the way that we take care of ourselves physically, like our physical body and in a physical sense. And it's about doing the small things well. I like Virgo energy. It's very attention to detail. It is very practical in nature. It's not a hurried energy. It's just doing things the right way consistently. And kind of a perfectionist attitude can be like a detriment, that can be an extreme form of Virgo energy. A lot of anxiety can also result if we try too hard to make these things like fit in a box. However, in general, Virgo energy is really good. So with it falling with the new moon in that sign, it's a very, very practical time for all of us to adjust and consider what we do on a daily basis, how we take care of ourselves, what are our habits. And habits can include the physical habits of what time you go to bed, what you're eating during the day, when you eat. It can deal with personal hygiene, but it can also deal with self-talk, the way, what are your habitual thoughts about a certain topic or about yourself or about a job that you're doing. So it's a good time to just really get in touch with what we do in a routine way every day. And if there are adjustments that need to be made, new moon energy is great for that, because it's a great time for setting intentions, making plans, deciding on goals, where we would like to be, and things like that. And it's always very helpful to write it down, to ground it in the real world. I always say that, our thoughts go very, very fast all the time, and it's easy to lose good ideas. It's easy to have intentions that never go anywhere. And new moon energy, especially in Virgo, it's very helpful if we actually root it in the real world somehow. So, updating our calendars and writing in journals and making charts. And, I always think back to school, like the seating charts and the um, everyone's names on their desks and the attendance logs and things like that that are very structured, but we pull those ideas into the real world and ground them. It's like planting little seeds. New moons are great for that. So it's great intention setting time, and the focus being on our daily routines, again, internally and externally to us. And then 2 weeks later, we have that full moon energy where the moon is completely full in the sky. And I think that happens in our area here in the Midwest, 10:30-ish, I think, on Tuesday the 17th, I believe. So that is a more culminating energy of things closing out. So, I mean, if we get really into it, I could do a full video on the fact that it would be closing out a cycle from like 6 months ago. The corresponding new moon in Pisces happened 6 months ago, and now we are full mooning it in Pisces. So it's a culminating energy. So the moon cycles tend to work like that. We set intentions and we work toward them, and we're not always conscious of it. But again, if we take the time to root those intentions in journals, on calendars, keep them in front of us, even unconsciously, we can begin to work toward them. So it can culminate later in, and we can see how far we have come toward that end. So with the full moon being in Pisces, we all know that full moons tend to be a little on the emotional side anyway. Our emotions can be heightened during that time. The moon is it is tapping our emotional energy. So things tend to swell, and maybe we experience our emotions bigger than we normally would. It's easy to cry at commercials and to get sentimental. It's easy to take things out of context or take things very personally. With that being in Pisces, it's only going to make that a little more nebulous, kind of. I mean, it may not make a lot of sense to us. Now, this is a great energy for creativity, creative projects, and the dream state, and things that are the very Piscean energy. Making things look beautiful, having high standards and high ideals, and all of that could be blown up a little bit larger with this full moon energy too. So the pair of having big dreams and everything looking very sparkly with the detail orientedness and the groundedness of the Virgo energy, in the same time frame, is actually really good, because we set the bar really high and we imagine really what could be, and our imagination can be on fire, around the full moon. But we also have that help, that corresponding help, to try to ground some of it and to set plans and make goals and take some of the more practical steps toward doing that. It's, it's one of those things where the higher you set the bar, you may not achieve that high, but you are going to get higher than you would otherwise if you set the bar low. So embrace that energy, that really creative and sparkly feeling of Piscean energy, and with that backup help of the Virgo habit forming, readjusting, taking the practical steps and grounding that energy. So I know that's kind of complicated, but I like those two together. They work really well, at least in my life they do. Even when it's not a moon issue, I still tend to keep that kind of dynamic in mind, that those big dreams, those big creative ideas need some kind of grounding, even if the steps are small, even if it takes some time. So what complicates, and doesn't complicate it, but what makes this emotional energy what it is also for the month of September is there is a Saturn-Mercury opposition right around that same time frame of the full moon. I think the full moon's on the 17th and this opposition is on the 18th. So Saturn is the lesson teacher planet, and it can be kind of harsh. The rewards are good, but it does like ask us to evaluate. It challenges us a little on what we think, what we're doing, those places where we are unconscious about our behaviors. And Mercury is, of course, the way we talk, and it's the planet of communication. So when those two are in opposition to each other, that transit, it's short, but the effects of it can last just a few days on either side, and it it means to me, anyway, just on the surface, like we could find ourselves being unable to like convey our ideas clearly. It has to do with like challenges to the way we communicate. It also has to do with challenges to the way we receive information. So again, you may tend to take things more personally. Old self-esteem kind of wounding could come to the surface a little bit, meaning that somebody could say something and you could take it in a way like a trigger. It could actually trigger an old feeling in you. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. Maybe it wasn't intended to do that. So you may watch for that. That would add to the emotionality of that time period. And it would just be good. Some ways that you can mitigate that kind of opposition would be to just try to look at things from another perspective. If somebody does say something and it does kind of trigger you and it brings back an old hurt, you may want to just step back before you react and see from their perspective what they may have meant from it. If a boss kind of gets on you about something, maybe there is something to learn in there. It might not have been a personal thing. It's just understanding that our own emotionality is going to come into play a little. Also, another way to mitigate that kind of energy is to learn a little more. If you're having trouble getting a point across, you could research or practice or run it by someone else or figure out another way to deliver that information. So to like improve your own communication skills could definitely be there. If you are having an I don't know, say you get into an argument with someone, this is the kind of time frame where an argument could like drag out forever, right? And you may be very conscious of not wanting to hurt someone else's feelings, or you may not want to set your own, stiff boundaries if it's going to affect someone else. However, this is the time frame when it will really, really serve you to be as honest as you can in the most gentle way, so that you kind of end those arguments early. Like you do not want the lack of communication or that inability to get on the same page. Just be very clear in the nicest way that you can. And it still may not feel great to the other person, but I would lean more toward the practical than the emotional when it comes to things of communication, miscommunication, setting boundaries, not doing things that you don't want to do. You just, that you might otherwise say yes to. I know that is a complicated mix, but you want to be concise and clear, and you may have some struggle doing that. So it may take a little extra work on your part, is what that kind of opposition means. Now, the nice thing is prior to the full moon, there is a Jupiter and Venus conjunction, or a trine, I believe. And those two work great in tandem. Venus is the planet of love and beauty. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So, your charisma might be at an all-time high in September, mid-September. You may be feeling really good. So it's kind of an definite opposing energy to what I just described. But you can see where September, those moon cycles can be roller coaster a little bit. You might feel great one day. You may think you look great one day. And then the very next day, you can be really hard on yourself, or somebody makes some comment about your shoes or something, and you can totally spiral into self-doubt. It can be a little bit of a roller coaster like that. So the reason I'm even doing this part of the video is just to give you a heads up that the best way is the middle way. Lean toward practicality, small steps. Don't shoot for perfectionism, and take it easy on yourself. The thing that combats all of this energy, that would serve you the best, that this is what all of this is pointing toward, is wanting you to look at your own emotional well-being. It's a great time to take note of people and situations around you, how you feel in those arenas. So it is a really great time because it's going to swing like this a little bit to note how well you feel. Like, what do you feel like when you are in the office? What do you feel like when you're around a particular person or group of people? You don't have to like say anything out loud. Just note your own emotional reactions and feelings to things, and know that it will be it's a great time for you to make changes so that you feel better. If being around a certain person doesn't make you feel good, if they're constantly doing things, you're going to know it even more so this month than before. You don't have to necessarily say anything to them, but you definitely could make a note of it and maybe not be around them so much. If you have a room in your house that just, you don't, say your bedroom, you don't sleep well in the bedroom, it would be a good time to note that you wake up feeling a certain way and to make changes accordingly. Two things that can really help with when you're trying to make changes that way are movement is a definite, and when I say movement, I mean, if you're in a space that you don't like, we need to move out of that space. And that can be physical movement, like getting moving, like taking a walk, refreshing, getting some oxygen into your lungs. But it can also be moving out of a stuck energy that you're in. And that's just making slight adjustments, changing your habits, going to bed earlier, maybe eating breakfast at a different time, maybe eating something different, maybe cutting back and scaling back a certain activity or interaction so that you have more time for yourself, more time to focus on something in the positive. It is a good time to add in a little bit more self-care, a little less from the outside. Um, but those small changes will help move you out of where you were, even if it's on a minuscule level. And that's all you're looking for right now. You're not looking for everything to be totally different. You're just looking to move out of a particular space. You need a step forward. You need to move yourself from a bad situation. It may not be bad. Maybe that's a bad way of saying it. If you are in a project that you're constantly thinking negatively about, make some progress on it, or get some help. Ask someone else for their advice or for them to do part of the project. Move out of that one particular place that you're in, by adding something positive to it, just tweaking something just a little bit. And I really like that kind of thinking. The other thing that will help during this time period is for your own well-being is purposeful relaxation. A lot of us don't know how to really relax. We think we do. We think crashing on the couch watching TV at night is relaxing, and in some cases it actually might be. However, true relaxation has to do with a lack of stress. And sometimes, with the Virgo energy at play in Virgo season here, we're going to feel stress in our bodies, in our physicality. So, taking that extra time to help your body de-stress, even telling yourself out loud, this is my time. I'm going to eat this dinner and it's going to help relax me. Like even the self-talk here of why we're doing what we're doing. Backing that up and bolstering it. And I know this sounds really goofy to say, but speaking out loud really is a way of putting it into the world. So if you take a vitamin in the morning, telling yourself out loud that you're taking this vitamin to help your energy levels throughout the day, that speaking it into it's just putting your awareness on it. And that will help also. It's very purpose driven. So that was kind of long and rambly about that. If you have any questions, you're welcome to comment or shoot me an email about it and we can talk further. But I just like this time frame. I think it's a great adjustment time frame. So don't be afraid to dream big. It's just don't fall into a disappointment if those dreams aren't realized right away. Remember that Virgo energy of baby steps, putting in the consistent work, and knowing that it's going to take that consistency and minor tweaks to the system to get you where you're going to want to go. Together, those are really great. And it's just fun to kind of have a heads up on what days those energies are going to be most prominent. So new moon on the 2nd, full moon on the 17th, that opposition on the 18th. But just prior to all that is that, high charisma, lovey day where things look good and you're going to feel good. So a little bit up and down, but that's kind of the nature of every day like this. It's a really great time, though, to put that focus on your own emotional well-being. Okay, for the individual signs portion, I am using the Haunted House Tarot, and it's one of my very favorite decks that I've had for a long, long time. It was a very inexpensive deck that I bought at this little bookstore, and it turned out to be a real winner in terms of, I love it because it's so different than the other decks that I use. It's very high drama. I kind of say that it's very much like a soap opera, and I kind of like the exaggerated energies of it. It always makes me laugh a little bit, but so take it things when you see the tarot cards with a grain of salt, that it is done in a very haunted house soap opera style, and I like it. It's fun to work with, and it just pulls from a different part of my brain, so I dig it, and I hope you do too. But I decided to pull it out for today since we're entering into the fall. I do have a couple of Halloween decks that I'll be using in October, but for now I am dealing with the haunted house one, so it's kind of like an old friend. An energy, we're going to start with Aries, and an energy that Aries might be dealing with this month is, I have to figure out how to do this without the glare, is the Justice card. And this particular Justice energy is fun because I wonder if, first and foremost, Justice is the Libra energy. So I don't know if you could be dealing with a Libra or some kind of legal issue. It is a literal card as well, meaning it could be any kind of documents, contracts, and something in the legal system, real estate, that kind of thing. But in this particular deck, it does look like there is someone that might be trying to either evaluate a situation or, I don't know if judge is the right word, but she's holding the balance, but there are two women in the background that look like they could be like either at war with each other or a fight. But this could be something that you may be trying to, I just get the feeling that you might be looking at a situation from the outside in. So you might be looking at two people that are fighting or a legal situation, and I don't know if you see the imbalance or you're trying to think through if you should do something about the imbalance. It may be something where you feel like you may want to bring justice to a situation. It could be that. But it may be something might become apparent to you about an imbalance in a situation. So your advice here is to do nothing, actually, to hang on to your money, to not say necessarily, it's not yours to fix, I feel like. You don't have to do anything. This is typically a card when it's in the upright of, hanging on to your stability, hanging on to your resources. When it's in reverse, it tends to be even clingier. Like, it's releasing yourself, though, from having to do something. Like, I feel like you are supposed to hang tight here is kind of what I feel like. Like, I don't know if there's something about you not contributing that actually frees you from the actual situation. So you may not, have to do anything. It would be not inserting yourself or your resources into something. The outcome here is the Two of Cups in reverse. This is a broken partnership of some kind. It could be a friendship. It could be a love situation. It could be family members or friends that have a falling out. But there is no coming together here of two parties in an emotional sense. This is broken. And that's the outcome, at least for the time period that I'm reading for, which I am intending for this to be September. It's not necessarily long lasting. In fact, it could be even like a 2-week time period with the outcome being the Two of Cups. However, I don't know if someone is just in their feelings and very disappointed in a situation that something didn't work out the way they thought it was going to. But I do see that you may be holding back, and the outcome could be a not coming together of two people. So I can't tell from the cards here. I just strongly get this feeling that you might be looking in. It could be your situation for sure. And in that case, it's not giving, hanging on to what you have, and it may result in a broken partnership of some kind. Although I think it's already broken based on that Justice card. I just don't see it coming back together in September. Okay, Taurus. The card I pulled for Taurus is the Four of Wands in reverse. Let me show you what the card looks like upright. The Four of Wands is generally a card of like a stable, happy home or a stable, good new beginning, sometimes between two people. This particular deck has it more looking like almost an initiation into a type of situation like here again, high drama, but this could be something as simple as like signing a new lease in an apartment, some kind of home situation that you're trying to get into. With it being reversed, there is something unstable about a home life or about the getting into a new situation with someone else, some kind of an agreement or a new job or something having to do with like stable four walls, something traditional that way. It's hard again. I'm being drawn into the drama of this, so please keep in mind that again with the energies that I discussed in the moon part, things may look quite a bit different to you this month than they actually are. So be sure to temper what your feelings about a situation. And I want to say, in a weird way, it might not be as bad as you think it is, but there is something amiss here in the home life or with your home in a physical way. I don't know. It could be even something as simple as a boredom issue. And maybe you're not saying a lot about it right now. It could also be something to do with your budget. Maybe there's things are a little bit out of whack and it's not running super smoothly and you've kind of let it go, and this is the month where you begin to face that, right? That you're gonna like take it on. It's becoming too big to ignore or something that you're really focusing on. The advice is an odd one. It's the Ten of Cups in reverse. Normally the Ten of Cups upright is it's a very family oriented, tribe oriented energy. It is kind of the happily ever after card in the tarot, although most readers kind of laugh at that a little bit because we all know there is no happily ever after. You can be happy in the moment, but life is an ongoing thing and we don't stay put in one place. So it can be aspirational in terms of what we're shooting for the happily ever after. But anyway, when it's in reverse, it can be a lack of family support, or it could be something not ending up the way that you had pictured it would. Like this, maybe you're recognizing that your home life or something about the place you live isn't what you had hoped it would be, or what you had originally thought of when you set this, when you put that out, that's what the kind of life that you wanted. This is a time where you might not be getting, in terms of advice, this is kind of saying like let an old ideal go and put work in to your life that you do have. Like if you're not happy and if something doesn't seem like you pictured it would be time in September to add something, to create some magic, to change something up, to infuse the situation with something happy and good that feels emotionally really great. I wouldn't necessarily look outside of yourself for this. I think this would be something that you would create on a personal level. And this could be as simple as painting a room a different color or changing your routine up. We did talk about the Virgo aspect of habits and routines and changes to make ourselves better, our well-being a priority, and putting our well-being as a priority. So you may want to infuse your life with something that does make you feel better, that does match a new vision, or that creates more excitement, something like that. The words creating magic keep coming to mind, Taurus. So I'm thinking, don't look outward for this. Look inside yourself at how you can bring changes or infuse your situation, your home life, your environment with something new for you to kind of create a new spark here. And then the outcome is another reversal, which is kind of interesting. It is the Strength card in reverse. And this is something where it could be a couple of things. You may not feel, I mean, upright, this card is someone looking in a mirror and seeing strength and seeing longevity. And the Strength energy is a health card. I don't read health readings, but it is one of the meanings. So in terms of your overall vitality, the outcome, it could be that you might recognize that your health needs some attention, that you could be more you could be healthier, you could feel better than you do. It could be an energy level kind of thing. And in this case, the outcome would be recognizing that. There may also be a self-esteem issue because literally speaking, this card in reverse would be not wanting to look in the mirror. So I don't know if there is some buried shame or embarrassment or self-esteem issue that comes to the surface. But I think the pointing it out this month is the part that might, help. You may not have enough money to live the life that you want, and you just can't stand to look at something 1 minute longer. And that would be where the making magic part from the advice cards come in, to do something in your environment, to make small changes. You may not be able to look at yourself in a certain way, or you may not have the courage. Strength is also a courage card. So you may not have the courage to tackle something, to live the kind of life that you want. But this advice is saying to make some changes within yourself, create that magic to be able to, well, look at yourself in the mirror, and look at yourself in a very honest way. So I know that came across as a little confusing because this is very internal. And this Strength card, I'm not really getting a clear read on exactly, other than I just feel like it's a recognition. The outcome will be that you recognize something either about your own vitality, about your own energy levels, about your health, about the way you look at yourself, that you need to infuse something into your life so that this turns upright, so that you feel strong, so that you feel capable, so that you feel magical, so that you feel, the best that you can feel. So just be on the lookout for that realization. I feel like the outcome there is a realization. That makes more sense now. Okay, so Gemini, the card I pulled for you is a really good card. It's the Six of Wands in the upright. And the Six of Wands has to do with a public victory of some kind. It doesn't have to be a singular event. It's being the face of something or having something show up in a public way. And it does tend to be some kind of victory. Now, in this case, it's really hard to tell for me what is kind of going on there, except that it does look like someone's leading the charge, kind of. And I do like it's something very visible. And I don't know. I can't get a read from the other two cards here of what I feel like you might be feeling good about something. It could be that you're looking at somebody else doing something, but I don't really feel like that. I think this is you, and maybe you're getting seen for something in September. Now, the advice is another 6. I like when I get repetitive numbers in the cards, but the Six of Pentacles reverse is basically watching out for uneven situations, things that don't pay you for your time, things that are unequal in some way. In this case, the card upright is she's giving to a literal rat. And there is, you see how the balance, this is another theme with the balance card, or the justice scales are in this card, and they are out of balance. So this is something not being balanced. So I think in terms of the advice is, really don't give to situations that don't serve you, that don't give you back what you need. This is something that is very positive and accomplished. Accomplished. That is a word that is coming through with this card. So you might have gotten recognition for something, or you may be a very accomplished person in an area. And the advice is don't give to situations, don't give your resources to things that don't respect that or don't pay you back in a way. It doesn't have to be money per se. It is don't give to unequal situations, though, things that aren't going to be reciprocal to you. Like, be sure you're not wasting your energy that way with people that are just trying to take advantage or don't really respect what it is that you do bring to the table. So this has a lot to do with worth and holding on. Like, I don't know, there's something here about holding on to your resources, holding on to your communications, not making decisions about things that don't serve you. Like, don't get invested there. The outcome here is not the best card in the deck. This is the Three of Swords. This is the disappointment, kind of heartbreak card of the deck. And in this particular haunted house deck, it is very betrayal centered. I mean, something that kind of comes in and stabs you in the heart. It doesn't always have to be so severe. It could be just disappointed. But what I really want to say about this card is this does have to do with someone else in your environment. So you could find yourself being kind of disappointed in someone. You may, with the advice being to not give to situations that don't give back to you or that are unfair or that don't recognize what you bring to the table. It's kind of saying if you do, you're going to experience kind of a disappointment in someone. You may discover that someone is really jealous of you, or you may discover that someone had some kind of hidden intention, and it may not feel the best. Now, what I like is if you follow the advice, you're still probably going to see this. You're still going to feel kind of hurt over someone, but I don't think that it will be from a dodged a bullet kind of feeling. Like, you may not want to see the truth about a particular situation or a person. So hold back from giving to things that don't respect you or that won't pay you for what you're worth, and wait that out just a little bit, because I think you could save yourself a little bit of heartache by seeing somebody's true intentions. I think that may come through this month. I don't think it's going to be anything super life-changing. I think you may just save yourself a little bit of trouble. So I hope that helps. Okay, Cancer. The card I pulled for Cancer is the Hanged Man card. Now, this is another major arcana. I've had a lot of major arcanas come up in the reading, so I think that's really neat. Those are bigger moments in our life, things, bigger realizations, turning points, things that actually will affect the course of moving forward, versus the minor arcana are more... They're more like moods that we move through, things that don't last very long. But the majors all have kind of an impact on our life. So this is kind of neat to see so many come up for this reading. But the Hanged Man energy is a Pisces card. The nature of this card is a momentary pause where you are not in control of the outcome. So you're not able to move forward yet until there is some kind of enlightenment reached. And here the imagery is a skeleton behind the wall, but it's almost like you may have to wait for a breakthrough of some kind. I'm feeling like those bricks, meaning the breakthrough thing. It may not, like, you may not be able to proceed forward with a particular goal or an activity that you're trying to do, or possibly a person if you're dealing with the Pisces, maybe. But this could be something that you started during Pisces season, which was back at late February and March, or something that you are planning on happening in the next cycle of Pisces, which would be February, March of 2025. So, regardless of any of that timing, it just is an energy of not being able to move forward until you figure something out or until someone else makes a move first. But there has to be some kind of knowledge learned or something that has to be uncovered before you can kind of move forward. It may be a realization within yourself that you've been giving to the wrong situation or person. The reason I say that is because the advice is the Ten of Wands, which this Ten of Wands happens to be one of my very favorite tarot cards of any deck ever. I just think it's a really badass card, and it really displays exactly what the meaning of the Ten of Wands is to me. Just in general, the Ten of Wands represents carrying too much burden for your own health, for the situation, from what's being expected. It's just carrying too much. It's being overburdened, doing too much. The implication with this card is there are easier ways to get things done than the way you're doing them. And let me say that some of that comes from the typical Rider-Waite imagery of a guy that's carrying the bundle in front of him and he can't even see where he's going. This one, she's much more determined, almost like she's been trying to wrangle the situation. Like, this is very much the person who does everything, picks up the slack when, for everybody everywhere, and becomes roped into her own obligations. But she's also very headstrong about plowing through and getting it done at a cost, though, of herself. And I love this because it does imply it's been a long journey. It has been a long time coming. You may be even more burdened than you even realize. Like, this would be after a long, hectic week, and you can settle in for a weekend. Have you ever had that phenomenon where you don't even know how to calm down? You don't even know how to slip into relaxation mode because you've been doing for so long that it actually takes some time and rewiring to figure out how to relax, how to not do things. So this is a card of endurance and just taking on too much. And with it being a 10, it is time to put it down. That's where the advice comes in, is once you reach the 10, you've made it, you have carried a lot, it's been a long haul, and now it's time to put down what doesn't belong to you, to do anymore. It may be time to let go of an emotional situation, let go of some kind of disappointment, let go of something that you've been carrying for a little too long, whether it's a person, a place, or a thing, or whatever. That the advice is to put that down. You don't need to keep putting energy into a situation or a person. And that could be where you feel stuck. So the advice would be to put down the giving part. You also could be realizing by stopping by putting down the efforts or the time or the resources that you're doing into a situation or a person, you actually might realize that it hasn't been fair. Like, you may have tried to keep a situation going longer than you should have, and you ended up carrying too much of the responsibility for it. So once you put it down, you recognize that maybe you were wasting efforts, or something was out of balance there. The potential outcome is the Hierophant card. It's another major arcana. It's a Taurus energy. This card goes with Taurus, so I don't know if you're dealing with the Taurus, but the Hierophant is all about a controlled environment. Like, I always think of it as convention, something of a conventional nature in the structure of our society, like something solid, like religion, churches, colleges, hospitals, institution of any kind, where we've all agreed on a structure of something, and that is a controlled element or environment where things run a certain way. So this could be like a banking thing, or doing something possibly in a more controlled way, that actually I really feel like it leads to something much bigger. Like there could, I don't know why. I think I'm looking at the shadow behind him. Usually I don't like the Hierophant energy very well because it is controlling and it may be a structure, but it might not necessarily fit the the differences in everyone. So yeah, we have to set up certain systems, but it might not account for the really creative outliers. It might not it's very just traditional in thinking, but what about the non-traditional sect? So sometimes I see this as a little too controlling and it's set up to make a system smoother and for the masses, but what about the people or situations that don't fit into, the typical structure? So usually I have a negative feeling about this card. However, in this case, and that negative feeling comes from control. But in this case, I really am not feeling that at all. In fact, I'm noticing the shadow behind him. So when you put down the burden of doing something, possibly you're putting too much in, working too hard for something, when you ease off, there may be either outside help or some kind of institution or structure that you abide by. Instead, you may have to go a traditional route that actually leads to something really positive. So you may be a little stuck. The idea is to put down doing so much or stop putting into a situation that you're not making any headway on. And within that, the outcome could be something doing it in a more controlled fashion or something by the book or by a very specific procedure that actually, I think, ends up better than what you could have thought. Actually, it may open more doors. So I hope that made sense. I got a little rambly with the Hierophant energy there, but it's kind of a big power energy anyway in the tarot, representing traditional structures. So there is something about, if you're stuck, put down doing so much and stick with something traditional. That would be the abbreviated version of that. So I hope that helped. Okay, Leo. The card I have for Leo is the High Priestess in reverse. And let me show you upright. The High Priestess is an energy of hidden knowledge. It is our own intuition, basically. The stuff that we know based on listening to ourselves. And it can talk about psychic type energies, but it doesn't really have to. It can just be knowledge that you house within you about your life, about the world, and your own intuitive sense of things. When it's in reverse, it is basically an energy, and this is what you could encounter at some point in September, is not really being able to hear what you think. It's like not knowing. Not listening to your own intuition on a topic, not even necessarily being able to get in tune with it. And that has come up before in one of the past readings. So just be on the lookout to not necessarily trust what you're feeling, or not even being able to get quiet enough to hear what you feel or think about a situation. That could very much be it. It could be actually making you fearful about doing something new or reaching out. Is the knowledge, sometimes I don't know why I get this energy of trepidation with this, but it's not reading the situation correctly, but it's also causing, it could be that your fear is blocking that. You may not know the right way to move. You may be afraid to take a step forward. It's because you can't trust if it will work out or not. It's like you can't, your fear is like, I really get fear is a huge block there. The advice is the Queen of Cups in reverse, and that is a very similar energy to the High Priestess in reverse. The Queen of Cups, that energy embodies our emotional nature and our intuition. I mean, it is our emotional center, and that is not a gender thing. We all, men, women, we all have emotions, and we all have the King and Queen of Cups energy in us. And the Queen of Cups is the nurturing, self-nurturing, intuitive, loving sense and care for our emotions. She is great at understanding and listening and being the emotional part of our nature. When it's in reverse, the advice is saying to check if you feel blocked or stuck or fearful. Check to make sure you're not ignoring your emotions around a situation. I don't know why here I feel like there was a choice potentially in the past. I don't know if you had to choose. This is weird how it's coming through very specifically. So I don't have any basis for knowing. I don't know if this will resonate with a larger group or not, but for someone it will, I would assume, because it's coming through. I don't know if you had to ignore your emotions in the recent past around a topic where you were in it was like a group setting maybe, and you had to choose. It's like a head over heart kind of decision, but I don't even think it was your head over your heart. I think you blocked out your emotions potentially, or you could be facing a situation that you don't know which way to go, and you're not listening to your own emotional self about it. But I do get this sense of choosing a group over a person, and I don't really know where that's coming from. So just as advice, the Queen of Cups reversed is saying to make sure and listen to your emotions. um, it could be why you are either ignoring your intuition, or fear is standing in the way of you actually listening to what is going to work out best for you. Now, the outcome here is a 10 of Pentacles. And this is one of the more interesting 10 of Pentacles cards in all of the tarot decks. And I really enjoy this look. What is in the foreground here is the Rider-Waite 10 of Pentacles. So that is the actual look of what the Rider-Waite card looks like. And the 10 of Pentacles is a contract card. It's also a family card in the sense of family, legacy, and generational wealth. Generational anything. Wealth doesn't have to speak to money. It can be culture. It can be beliefs that are passed along. It could be group settings, buildings and structures that, house families or mean something to families. But it's very generational in nature. And if you look at the Rider-Waite part of that card, there, it's got the same arch to it that you're looking at. But this is like looking out. If you look at the whole card in general, the card is looking out through a window at a big home or estate, but it's very cold and frigid, where, it's not necessarily what it has been or what it has traditionally been. Traditionally been, it's been a much warmer situation than what you find yourself in now. So there could be that there are choices along the way, and if you don't listen to your actual heart, you may make choices that alter your family situation, that alter the larger, your extended family or generational wealth of some kind. And you may be like either bringing that to an end or coming to grips with something. A realization of potentially why a family structure is colder, why it looks different than what it has been up till now, or what was expected, something like that. But tends represent endings. So the culminating energy here is, I think, a more of a recognition of, like, a compare and contrast of the reality of a situation versus what it has been in the past. And you may be reflecting back on the choices of how you got here. And that kind of points to these two other energies then of being sure. I feel like this, your reading is a giant wake-up call to understand that in the past choices were made, that you were not listening to your actual emotions. Something else was at play, whether it was ego or fear or something, but you weren't listening to your actual emotions on a topic. And there's almost like second chance energy. I'm not sure it's second chance, but moving forward, you may choose to listen to your emotions more, to engage those in your decision-making process. So look for that in September to kind of be pointed out. And it probably will come in the form of some kind of ending or, contract or something like that. Okay, Virgo. Virgo, your cards are so interesting, and I'm not even going to pretend to know all the different ways that this could play out for you. What I will do is explain what the cards mean in terms of how I'm seeing these, but it is very interesting. It feels very specific, and I don't even want to guess at what this may may be on a specific level. So what I'm going to tell you are the flavors of the cards here, and see where this could apply for the month of September for you, and to give you something to watch out for. It could be that maybe this is happening to someone that you know, so you might be seeing the situation, and if so, maybe it's a friend of yours and they come to you with the situation, and you may be able to help with some advice or a good listening ear or something. But if it is you, the advice is really clear here, and it happens to be a major arcana also. So the overview card, like the thing that you can expect to maybe encounter this month, is the King of Cups in reverse. And the King of Cups reverse has to do with not being balanced in your emotions. Sometimes it can speak to being very manipulative. So it might be that you're dealing with someone who is very emotionally manipulative. And we don't always recognize that right away, because a lot of times this can indicate like love bombing or some kind of passive aggressive behavior that kind of flies under the radar. Flattery kind of falls into that. And I have a feeling that you will take note of it in September. Like something you are going to understand that that is what is happening in September with this individual. It doesn't have to be a masculine energy. I do have two kings on the table though, so it's more than likely we're dealing with a masculine, but not necessarily. If this is you, you might just be feeling really emotionally imbalanced right now. And it could be that you need to take a moment and go inside to figure some things out. So this is a great time. A lot of the astrology talks about how emotional the month could be. It talks about changing our habits and rewiring the way we think to gain some balance. So it could be that maybe emotions are really out of control, like anger or jealousy, or one day you feel great and the next day you don't, and you want to feel more steady and level, or you want to understand yourself better and what's important. This would be an indicator that you just might be feeling not sure even of how you feel about a situation. It could definitely be the highs and lows there of that. Now, the advice card is the death card, and this is super cool death card for tarot in general. But death energy is a major arcana, and it's right in the middle of the tarot. I've had a short video on that before. It does not mean the death of someone. In fact, the way I read, it's probably not going to come out that way. Certainly not in the advice section. As advice, death means to allow something to end. All right. Sometimes we cling on to things that are well past their due date. And I really will use food, like expired food in the refrigerator, as a good example here, because it is a way to bring such a big energy into our everyday. We may be tempted to not want to waste food, so we hang on to it longer than the expiration date. And we kind of tempt fate that way, because certain foods we probably can get away with that. Other ones you probably don't want to mess with that. And this advice would be to go through your refrigerator and make a clean sweep. If it's expired, let it go. Like hanging on, clinging to something past its due date is only going to hurt you in the end, and you are kind of playing with fire there. So advice is let something end. Don't try to push it forward. Just put down whatever it is you've been trying to keep alive and let change happen. That is the best advice. It's always a great piece of advice in a reading, is to stop, because what it does is it resets in your brain the fact that maybe you've been trying to wrangle something for so long, or hanging on or clinging, but you're probably not happy. In fact, you are probably in this state of being really imbalanced because change is natural. And so when it's time, we need to let something change. Let it end is the advice. The outcome here is the King of Wands in reverse. This is what I was talking about when I say this is a great example of like the high soap opera drama. The King of Wands is generally a fire sign king. But in the reverse, this is talking about, it can be kind of harsh. So the thing that it makes your reading a little bit on the profound side is we have two kings. And what's in the middle of them is this kind of wicked death card. So it's an interesting reading to look at anyway, because what I really want to say is if you're really out of balance, you cannot really be a good leader. If you're really out of balance, you can't be a good partner. The King of Wands upright is a great partner, and he's a great leader, and he has a lot of charisma, and he's got the good of the group in mind, and he's very clear-headed and brave and all the things that you think of with someone leading the charge, right? In terms of relationships, he is a good leader. He is a partner. When it's in reverse, he can be self-serving. He can be directionless. He can be spineless, not have the bravery component. He can be very self-serving. So he's looking out for his best interest, not the entire group, which makes him an ineffective leader and a dangerous leader. Here, I can't really put my finger on what this might be, much like the King of Cups in reverse, because it can be pretty bad. I mean, Virgos, you could be dealing with somebody who's really not that great, and you may need to let a relationship with them go because this isn't really good energy. However, if it's just on an introspective level and the things that you're feeling, if your feelings are out of balance and you don't let something go, the outcome really could be that you're really not effective for anyone. You're not leading the charge in your own life. It also could be quite simply that a partnership is ending and you will no longer, like, this could be a card of more singlehood. That would be kind of specific though for that to come up. It would be the context would matter in that case if a relationship ended. It could just point to, it could be reckless to keep something going. So the more responsible choice would be to let something end. So you might want to watch out for this. If it's you, you probably need to let go of certain things so that you can readjust. You probably weren't happy with them anyway because the King of Cups was reversed. Let something blow up if it's supposed to. If it's someone you're dealing with, but I'm strongly feeling it could be somebody you're dealing with, then this person probably isn't going to be the best partner anyway. So not the cheeriest reading. Again, I felt like that was really, really specific. So I hope that helps. Okay, Libra, you have an interesting couple of cards here. The card for what to expect is that Ten of Wands again, and this keeps coming up now. I kind of love it because I do love this card, carrying too many burdens, something getting so heavy, the determination to finish something out, and yet it's coming at a cost of burning out. So when this comes up, you may feel very, very overburdened at some point in September. You may feel like you're carrying all the work, doing all the things. And once you get that feeling of feeling very stressed about something or overworked, overburdened, tired, exhausted, resentful, it's time to put them down. A 10 is an ending, so it is a cycle wrapping up. And when you feel this energy come into play, know that that is your sign to put something down. It's to let something go. If you have repeatedly tried to do something over and over, like say you extend an invitation to someone over and over and over and they never reply, if it feels bad to you, it's time to stop, right? The advice section here is interesting because it is the Knight of Cups in reverse. And we have a lot of Cups energy in reverse in these readings right now. So it does show me again that the emotions are kind of all over the place. This card upright, all the Knight cards indicate action. And action in what arena? Well, this is action in the Cup arena, which is like an extension, a loving extension of something friendly, something lovey, an invitation, a hey, how are you? It's a note to someone. It's asking if they want to go somewhere. It's a gesture of some kind that's very loving, coming from the heart. When it's in reverse, it's either not taking that action, and this is advice. So I would say, looking at the other two cards here, be on the lookout for something that, whether it's your own emotions I would say watch out for insincerity is how this is really coming through to me. There could be jealousy at play. The advice being this card is to recognize it. Recognize it for what it is. If you see jealousy in a situation, if you see insincerity, also watch it within yourself. Don't do things that you don't mean. Like this is saying no when you mean no. Especially given that this burdened card, if you don't feel like doing something, don't say that you will do it just to be nice. So watch that in terms of, that's what I meant with insincerity. Say what you mean. That is much more loving in the big picture than taking on things just because you don't want to make someone else upset. So be on the lookout for things that are not genuine this month, whether it's coming from you or from someone else. And you may want to, if this energy, this not loving gesture, like if you're withholding love of some kind, I want to say if this is toward yourself, you may want to take a moment and look back into the past to see maybe where that came from. Because this can also indicate you are not pouring enough loving energy into yourself. And that can be like a low self-esteem type of energy or a lack of self-care. And you may want to take a minute and examine where that's coming from. Why wouldn't you take better care of yourself? Why wouldn't you extend that kind of love to yourself if that's what you're seeing in your environment being reflected at you? Now, the outcome here is the Three of Wands. I really like the Three of Wands. It's a card of optimism and positive expectation in circumstances. So in this one, she's coming down the stairway. She does look kind of afraid, though. Like she had been maybe upstairs in bed and heard something downstairs, so grabbed the light and came down. But it is that expectant energy. I would say you may not I'm trying to see what was coming. There was something like right there on the edge of my brain. Libra, for the month of September, hold positive expectations. You know, if it's something especially out of your control and you're not, you know, I would say watch the way that you, I don't even think you need to like watch it. I just think as an outcome here, you can expect to have positive things. I'm not sure you need to make any heavy choices right now. This isn't a card of choice. It's a card of already having done the work and expecting the best. All right, you're sitting in a good place. I think there is something very positive to watch for. It could be in 3 weeks or 3 months. So definitely in this last quarter of the year, sometime possibly from October on, something that you might have been working toward or hoping for. I would hold positive expectations for it. I hope that helps. Scorpio, your reading is really good. I love it. So far, it's the best of all of them. And we've had some like kind of big energies here. And yours is no different. We have the 10 of Cups as the energy that you can possibly expect to encounter. Now, the 10 of Cups has already come up a couple of times. This is an ending in the emotional realm. So some kind of emotional ending could be taking place. It could be that you're finalizing a project, you're finalizing or selling a family home. You could be doing something that it has an emotional component. It could be related to your family. Past or present, but it is saying goodbye to something. Now, it could just be the idea of what something was. Like, you know, when you're a little kid and you have a dream or a vision about what something in the future will look like regarding your emotional life, regarding your family, regarding your partner, or who, you know, what's going to make you happy. Sometimes that changes. Like we have to let go of an old vision for ourselves to embrace something new. So it could be something literal, as in a part or a type of family dynamic changing and ending, closing something out. There's a lot of completion that I feel, and I'm really drawn to the rainbow. So this has probably already happened, but you may have some party or culminating experience after the fact. For instance, my husband just retired and we plan on having kind of a party for him this fall. But see, the retirement already happened this summer. The party would be this energy. So we are celebrating something that's already happened, but we are at the rainbow stage. So it could be a time also of reflecting back, and I don't know why I feel like grading a situation, like grading, like judgment, like judging it, like looking back and reminiscing and trying to decide how we feel about something that has closed out. So that's kind of an interesting thing to look for. I really like it. It goes really well with Scorpio energy. It's good. The advice is another very good card. It's the Sun card. This happens to be a really beautiful card. It's different than some of the Sun energies in the other decks, but there is no bad meaning to this card. The advice basically is be happy, like find your happiness. It is a little deeper here to me because she's sitting looking backwards. So I also love the imagery of the sunflowers. You know how the sunflowers grow to face the sun, right? They continually face the thing that makes them happy. Well, she happens to be looking toward the past. So given the Ten of Cups as what you might be facing, this card implies like try to pull the positive out of something from the past. I get this feeling that you may want to leave a situation with a positive feeling. So whether or not you have to try, the thing is, I think you're going to be embrace the positive and embrace the joy, embrace something good that came out of something. I think you may end up getting, like, it may do something to your brain. You might have been stuck before. Like, say there was a bad ending to something, right? And you've been questioning it or feeling guilt about it and worrying about it. This energy is about looking back fondly, and seeing the good of a situation, seeing what the positive, what the silver lining was. It can reframe everything about a past situation in your head. That was a mouthful. So I hope I made myself clear, but your perspective on something that's already happened, if you try to see the good, it can actually help your own mindset about something from the past. So it's almost like emotional closure in a way, right? Seeing something that ended and reminiscing and finding the good in it. It will serve you moving forward. Now the outcome card is the Eight of Wands, but it's in reverse. Typically when this card is in the upright, it's very fast movement or fast communication, like internet, like email, texting. It's quick communication like that. It can indicate a back and forth or an abundance of things coming in, like if you have a huge response to something that you put out online. But when it's in reverse, it's kind of like not communicating, not answering someone back, not moving forward. So I don't know if there is a trip that you won't be going on, because this is a travel card also with that quick movement. But in reverse would be not traveling, not going. Maybe it's something that I don't know if it's something that you missed in August. But basically it's to take a mental break from something and not move forward or not respond. I feel like there's rest in here. You're going to let something rest. You're going to not respond. You're going to choose to see something from the past in a very certain light, but you are sitting in a happy place now, like recognizing where you're at and that you're happy and looking back, and maybe no response is needed. Maybe it could be that simple. Interesting. Okay, Sagittarius. The card that I pulled for you is the Ace of Cups, and this is a really beautiful card in this deck. All the aces represent new opportunities that could be presented to you. So in this case, around the full moon, I love that. That is on the 17th. There may be a new emotional opportunity available to you. And the thing is, I simultaneously felt like You may be in a really good space in September with yourself in terms of taking care of yourself. Understanding your own emotions, being kind to yourself, that cheesy thing where they say to date yourself, you may be really understanding and giving yourself care, right? And doing the things that make you happy, not stressing yourself out too much. It really is very soothing to look at this card. So you may find yourself in this space, and yet there may be an opportunity to meet someone new, or to reconnect with a friend, or there could be an opportunity having to do with someone else that is made available to you. I like the aces, and it's up to us whether or not we take them. They're just things that present themselves, and it could just be a new profound respect for yourself, and for your space, and for taking care of yourself. It just could be that simple. But I have a feeling that it could be something that comes up where somebody wants to, I don't know, maybe somebody asks you to go on vacation with them or something. I don't know, you might meet someone new and they ask you out, or you may have someone that is trying to like become your friend, that kind of thing. The advice here is the Fool card in reverse. This is such a fun Fool card. This is what kicks off the story of the Haunted House Tarot. That girl's name is Raven, and she is a character through the whole story of the tarot. But the Fool card upright, it's also a full moon, so I do think this is probably between now and mid-month. But the Fool, when it's in the upright, represents taking a risk, having faith in God, in situation, and in life that you feel okay to risk. When it's in reverse, you may not feel like risking something. You may not feel like coming out of your comfort zone. And your advice here would be to examine why, right? Or to take a look at your own motivations around why you might not want to start something new. So if you did have the opportunity to meet someone new, but you do turn it down, or that's your first instinct, you may want to examine the why, like what's causing you to either be fearful of starting something new, or just looking at why would you be reluctant, like what are you afraid is going to happen, or it's questioning yourself that way. Are you afraid of changing the dynamic? Like, if you had a friend and you had a crush on them, being afraid to ask them out because you don't want to risk. Fool always represents a risk of some kind. Ruining a friendship over it. Is that really the case, or is it just because you're hiding behind the fear of rejection? It's questioning. What is it in regards to a new emotional opportunity? Like why aren't we feeling good about going for it? Like, what are your motivations around it? The outcome here is the Three of Cups in reverse. This is such an interesting Three of Cups. In a straightforward way, the Three of Cups reversal, or the Three of Cups when it's in reverse, is a no on a reconnection. So this is mainly going it alone, not getting back together with someone, not getting together with a group of friends, not attending a party, a get together, that kind of thing. Because the Three of Cups upright is a celebration. If you see the upper part of the card, that's exactly the normal nature of the Three of Cups. It's coming together in a celebratory way. It's reconnecting with someone in romance. It can be like a third party affair type of thing. When this card is in reverse, it's the opposite. It's not getting back together, not getting together to celebrate, not anything like that. And it's a minor arcana card, so it could be a singular event, like you turn down going to an event. What I love, though, is this card adds the dimension of basically she's drowning in her emotions. The cup suit is emotional, and I mean, she's drowning in the water there. She's so absorbed with the emotions of a situation, which come with the full moon energy, which come with this time frame, that she might not be seeing everything really clearly. However, this is in reverse, so this is not letting the emotions overtake her. This is seeing something for what it is and choosing not to participate. So that's a very clear indication that something I think you may be turning down something, getting back together with someone, but you're really clear headed about it. You're not overly emotional. It's more of a practical look at maybe something is missing, right? Because you're not overly emotional about that decision. So I like it. I didn't mean to overtalk that. It's a pretty straightforward thing that there could be a new opportunity. There, you may be reluctant to take it. Examine why, and you may have your reasons for it. But I do not see potentially getting back together or attending something, at least not in the, first couple weeks of September. Okay, Capricorn. You have a very straightforward reading. I love it. I like the clarity of it. I'm sure you probably appreciate that too. It's kind of no nonsense. So there are a few variables to it, but it is, for the most part, straightforward. The card of what you can expect in September at some point is the King of Swords. And I really love this King of Swords card. It really... first of all, in a typical tarot deck, the King of Swords represents an air sign, masculine energy more than likely. That is Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini individuals. So it could be that you're dealing with someone like that. It's also someone who is incredibly logical and plays by the rules. Like, is a rule... He understands the rules. He's a leader that abides by the rules and knows the regulations of things and is very precise and strategic. And that is the strategy is shown with the chess game here. But important things to note about the King of Swords: it could be someone like a lawyer who knows the law, and is very verbal with it, or written, very communicative. It's someone like a doctor who's an expert in something. Anyone like that is very analytical and knows the facts, right? So he's also in this deck portrayed, if you see all the scars on his face and the Three of Swords hanging behind him, almost like a trophy. So this is a man who has been hurt before. The Three of Swords in the tarot deck is the disappointment or the heartbreak card of the deck, but it's in the background almost like a trophy in a trophy case. So this is a guy who has been disappointed before. He's very shrewd in his thinking. It's very difficult to get one by the King of Swords. So you're dealing with a strategist. Now, I don't know if you are the King of Swords in this energy. I mean, in this month, meaning you are the one who's thinking very shrewdly and kind of no nonsense. It's real cut and dry kind of energy. Very discerning. I think discernment is a key word for the King of Swords. But he's just not really someone to mess with. So that could be your energy right now, knowing the facts, knowing what you want, knowing the lay of the land, knowing the game. I'm going to say that for him. There is a game being played somewhere in your life, and you're either the King of Swords, you're embodying that, or you could be baited by someone who's being the King of Swords. Now, I do like it. The King of Swords is not in the reverse, all right? He's just a man with a plan and is very shrewd in his planning. It could be that you are dealing with this individual, because I like it okay because it's not reversed. If he was reversed, then I would tell you to watch out for him. He is a liar. He is trying to get something. But in this case, he's upright. He really is looking at the facts and the lay of the land as it is. So if there's a game, he's looking at it for what it is. And that's where I think it could be you. The advice is the Ten of Swords in reverse. All right. This is a card that I absolutely love to see in the advice in this position. The King, or the Ten of Swords, is probably the most painful card in the tarot deck at all. It's the only card in which the swords are actually touching the person, and he has been, they're all in his back. And he's to the point where, if you remember that swords represent thoughts and our communications, this is someone who feels stabbed in the back, or has been stabbed in the back, or has talked something so much that it's over. Like, it tried everything, thought his way through a problem, and there is no solution. This is the point where we give up, right? There is nothing else to be done in the situation. And I always love it because some people see this as a sunset in the background, meaning the sun is setting on a particular relationship or situation or job or something like that, or a thought process, or, trying over and over and over to get your point across. And so you just give up. It's that kind of energy. but it's painful. Like there is a pain associated with the Ten of Swords. Doesn't feel good. Other readers happen to see this as a sunrise, and I do too, based on some of the other imagery across the other tarot decks. Because once a situation is over, nothing really ends ever. It's all cyclical. So there is a new dawn, right? There is a new day, and so when it's in reverse, we're already on the other side of that. So this is a card, especially the advice section, that says allow the swords to fall out of your back, right? The situation is over. You are safely on the other side of it now. And any thoughts you have about it, if you cling to them, it just keeps the situation more painful. It's sort of like poking at an old wound or ripping a scab off repeatedly. We're already past a situation, so I really want to say, if this is some kind of game you're dealing with, some kind of situation that has just gone on, you're dealing with someone who might poke at you a little, you're already over it. So it's letting it go. Once you totally let go of a situation, and this could involve like forgiveness. I don't see the cards of forgiveness here, but as advice, it's recognizing that the situation is over and there's really nothing else to be said. So it doesn't really matter what somebody else comes back with. This is, I don't know if you're dealing with someone who wants the last word in something and they're just trying to needle you. But the thing is, it can't be done. The advice is the situation's over. If you recognize that it is and you're on to something new, then the outcome here is crazy good. It is the Hanged Man card in reverse. And as I mentioned in one of the earlier readings, the Hanged Man card upright is like suspended animation. You're stuck. You can't go forward right now. And it's usually because there's more information that's necessary or some enlightenment needs to occur. You may be stuck on a project because you just don't have any ideas about how the next step. It would be like painting a room, but not really knowing what kind of rug to put down, right? You don't know where you want to go with it yet. I like it. Something else is needed before we can move. When it's in reverse, it is. That moment has come and you are free to go. You are free to go with what you've learned, what you needed to learn. You've gotten the information you needed. Something might have been uncovered, even only because we're talking about a brick wall here. You may have left someone hanging. Okay, this is weird. You may have left somebody hanging a while back for some unknown reason, and whatever you did instead didn't work, and you may be realizing that the thing that you left behind was the answer to something. So that might be something specific for someone, but regardless, you are able to move forward now. Something has been uncovered, there's been information, something has ended, a situation's really over, a procedure, something is over, and now you can move forward. So I like that. I like that a lot. I don't feel like you're, I think you are the shrewd one who understands the strategy involved in the situation. Okay, Aquarius. Your cards are really interesting, and there is kind of a basic story here, but I feel like this is a really deep set of cards. So what I'm going to do, rather than try to go into the depth part of it, because well, this is more of a collective reading, it's not a personal one-on-one reading. If it was a personal one for one person out there, there is so much here, like there's a lot to dig into. But I am going to tell you what I think the cards mean, but then I may explain a little more about the cards and see, it would be worth, if you are resonating at all with this, it would be worth spending some time, because this is really interesting to me. So I feel like there's so much more here, and I could probably do a full reading just about this spread, but that's not kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm not doing personal. So the thing that you can expect potentially for the month of September here is you may encounter a situation that involves the Six of Coins. We've had this card come up also already today. The Six of Coins is a card about equal give and take. And when it comes up like this in a spread, something might point out to you the unfairness in a situation, or something that is out of balance with what you're doing. There may be a person that you're involving yourself with that really isn't worth your time. In this case, she's dealing with rats, and she's spending her time dealing with rats. And it's fundamentally out of balance. If you look at the scales on the card, they're not balanced. It's not equal. And I think the expectation that it would be ever equal is kind of naive. And it could be something like I don't know why I feel guilt. I don't know if there's going to be a situation where you give to a situation you're not going to get back something out of, because you feel guilty about something. This is where it could get really deep, because this card doesn't usually indicate guilt to me, but I just feel it strongly that you may feel somewhat obligated to give back in some way out of a feeling of guilt. Now, if that's not the case, then this is just simply watching out for situations that may appear, I don't know, that maybe you've been kind of unconscious about giving to something or hanging around certain people, and you might recognize you don't really get back anything out of it. It might be a realization that way. So just watch giving to rats, basically. The advice is the Queen of Swords reversed. This is some of the most interesting advice ever. I like when the Queen of Swords comes up in reverse, because this reminds us, the advice here is to basically understand, recognize that you might be reacting from an emotional standpoint when you probably should be a little more logical. And that comes into play in things like when you hold grudges, right? If you have deep-seated resentments or grudges about something, then you're probably not going to react in the most logical way. You're going to react more from a place of hurt emotions and things that are kind of buried, not speaking about it, just acting on this emotion that could be kind of reckless even. So it's not so much, it could be lashing out, but it could be doing something rash because you're not over something. It could be holding a grudge against somebody, and, you make a decision that isn't really what you normally would make, but it's coming from an emotional space. So the advice being, watch where your decisions are coming from. If you find yourself wanting to lash out because you're holding a grudge, be careful of that. Those decisions don't usually end up serving us very well. So watch any grudge holding, watch letting your emotions make those decisions for you. Probably not a good time for that. Be sure to engage your logical, discerning mind. The outcome here is the Judgment card, and this is one of the more beautiful Judgment cards, I think. Judgment is generally the angel blowing the horn, waking up, the dead bodies and calling them up to heaven. But this is a wake-up call card. It is a literal judgment card. It's making a judgment about something, more than likely from the past, but it could be a court situation, potentially. It can be literal that way with a judgment, but here in this case, this particular card there's a sense of making peace with the past. And I like it. I like it a lot. And it is getting very close to like closure. Do you see all the zombies in the background? There's a lot of interpretations that the artist has for this card, but we can walk around like zombies like that and not really know why we do the things we do, or we can never let the past rest, right? We just keep bringing things up. And I'm saying that based on that Queen of Swords reverse, the keeping the grudge going. This is like putting closure to it. This is taking, it could be a version of your past self, and loving on them, accepting that you were hurt, that there was something that was really unfair, but it's really doing shadow work to get closure on the past so that you can integrate what has happened to you into who you are. And you no longer have to walk around with the grudge, with your emotions driving the decisions you make, because you are whole. You know, you have taken the past and integrated it with your present, and you're no longer that zombie walking around. You know, I know that could get really deep, but you may end up passing judgment, right, on something, possibly a part of you, of the past. It could be maybe you're passing judgment on your past in a different way, like your parents or something, but it would be the same end, right? Seeing it for what it was, accepting that that's what it was, integrating that into who you are so that you can move forward in a healthy way. So it is passing judgment on something from the past. I don't know what that would be, but I hope you do that with a clear head and not an emotional head, calling something for what it is, seeing it for what it is, accepting it for what it is, and forgiveness, forgive self, forgive the past. It's like that. It's that integration. I like it. I like this a lot. I always like when judgment comes up because it's the second to last card of the tarot, and that indicates the next card would be the World, and that is where we begin to move on into a new cycle. We finally let something wrap up, and I feel past heavily, whether it's an individual from your past, a situation from your past. I don't know, but that reading got really, really deep. I don't know who out there could be working on shadow work or understanding themselves better, but there was a lot to that one. But I really like the image of you holding a past version of yourself or a part of your past close and almost protecting it and blending it. All right, and Pisces. The card that I pulled, you may encounter this energy in the month of September, is the Justice card again. It's funny. This has already come up also, and I don't remember which sign it was. But Justice is an energy of Libra, so it could have to do with partnerships of any kind, love partnerships, work partnerships, anything like that. But it's about, it also could be a court thing. There could be a court situation that you could deal with, but mainly it's about, there could be something that comes in terms of something that brings justice to a situation that in the past might have been kind of combative. It could be that you or someone else could be in a position to try to balance something out. And I see that because there are two people in the background and it's this one more woman in the foreground holding the scales. So I don't know what you I am also hearing things that you what's the word I'm trying to think of, like the terms of how you measure something, like I don't know if that has changed, like the measure of something, like the how you would measure success, how you would measure some, the worth of something, that could be changing. There could be I feel like something being inserted into your life, whether it's a person or an opportunity or something that could balance the scales out a little bit. But mainly I see there is like clarity around what is fair. It could be, have you ever had like, say that you have a friend group, right? Or you have a couple of friends and you think that's what friendship is about until this new person comes along and shows you exactly what friendship should be. And it makes the other ones look like bad in comparison. So your measure of friendship changes. It's something like that is what I'm getting, where something new comes in and it puts a different like your perspective might change, or your measuring tool might change, or the way that you look at something changes in terms of if it's right or not, if it's just or not. And it could be a person. The reason I said friendship is because the Libra energy has to do with partnerships, you and the other. So it could be around how you relate to other people, but it definitely, I think, has to do with people in your life. Now, the advice is the King of Pentacles in reverse. This is kind of interesting. The King of Pentacles is Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus energy. When it's in reverse, though, it is very self-serving. It's greedy. It's not being very good with money, even. It's someone who misinterprets the material world. So people that are really greedy and are selfish with time and resources, they are very short-sighted because no one's going to tolerate that very long. You can't use a resource up or gather all the money up. Money is a tool that works best when it flows, right? It's just a trading tool. So if you just hoard it, it does nothing really for your life. You actually have to use it. And no one will want to do business with someone who's always going to watch out for themselves and take the biggest cut. Same in relationships, since we're talking about that Libra energy. You can only use up relationship energy so much before the other person walks away from you. So in terms of advice, it's be on the lookout for this materialistic energy. I feel like you shouldn't engage. And the reason I say that, I don't think it's necessarily you being that way. It's because you may be measuring, right, the people around you and what they bring to the table, if something is right or not. And I think there has been something in the past that could have been this energy that was like okay before, but now you've readjusted how you measure the worth of a friendship or a partnership, and now you're on the lookout for people that are just wanting more for themselves. And if you're the one, recognize where you may be doing this, but I think you're the one holding the scale. So, yeah, it is, watch out for that person or that energy that just is wanting more for themselves. Like there's something in your relationship dynamics that is changing. Now the outcome is the Four of Wands. I think this is a great outcome. It's a creepy card. It's so cult-like. But the Four of Wands in general is just a happy home life card. It is four walls of stability. And it typically will have those four posts, the Four Wands. But it has two people. And they're so celebratory. They don't have the biggest house. They don't have a castle. They don't have a mansion. But what they've got is happy. And they're in mutual agreement. They are celebratory with it. And it represents stability. So here, there may be stability in some kind of structure, some kind of home. I like this. I get a real partnership feel, even though, like I said, it is kind of creepy. And if you put these up together, I like it a lot. It's like the measure of what you think of as successful or as a happy home possibly has been changing. Like, I just feel like your relationships might be upping. You may be upping your game with relationships, but it would be based on like past bad experience and then appreciation. That was the word I couldn't get to before. An appreciation for, even the simpler things. That Four of Wands can represent, the basics versus the pile of gold that somebody else is sitting on. That's no good to you if they're only going to watch out for themselves. What you're looking for is a more equal partnership, even if it doesn't come with the fancy things. So I think that you may have a moment in September or a person or a situation that comes into your life that shows you that suddenly the balance changes, and there is justice in that. So if you have been a part of something bad in the past, look for something to come in that just fits you just great, and it shows, like, it gives back to you the way that you want, and it feels like a big win, and it's stable. Like, I really like it. In a weird way, I keep hearing karmic justice, so it could, whatever happens coming up could feel, or you could get a sense of, this is your good karma. Like, I know some people don't buy into that. Karma is simply a reaction, a balancing out of the energy that you put into the world. And we're all doing it all the time. But it sometimes is delayed. So cause and effect, sometimes you don't see it right away. So this could feel like one of those karmic, like, rebalancing times where your recognition of what you have, makes it okay. Like, it's going to feel very stable, I think. So yeah, I hope that helps. That was a good reading too. I think you, and was it Scorpio that had another? No, Scorpio had the Yeah, I think Scorpio had a good reading. Anyway, there's some good ones there. And if you have any questions or you want to delve a little further, you can drop a comment or send me an email. And if I have some time, we'll talk about it. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.